I think the biggest thing that, really comes to mind when I think about Title IX is the word empowerment.
We just wanted to try and start the barrier to entry and drop it down and make it feel really like a welcomed environment.
I was afraid that I was going to become diabetic, and I didn't want that for myself. And you're choosing your wellness and your health and, picking up a healthy habit like I did.
And I've been there for it, and it gets me choked up each time we talk about it because it is so powerful.
Are you a woman who has thought about giving triathlon a go, but taking on a swim, bike, and run with other competitors seems a bit intimidating? Well, what if those other competitors were all really supportive other women? And what if you had a swim buddy, somebody in the water with you cheering you on? And what if you could meet some of these other competitors and supporters before race day at a seminar designed to help new triathletes feel more comfortable? Well, there is an experience just like that. It's just for women, and it's right here in New England. And you're going to find out about it today on the Race and Explore New England podcast.
This is the Race and Explore New England podcast, your place to discover the races, explore the places, and find your adventure. Now, here's Chad.
Welcome to the Race and Explore New England podcast. I'm Chad Nye. Today we're heading to the Title IX Triathlon in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. This race is known primarily for being a women's only race, but it's also known as the perfect race for women who are just beginning with triathlon. Hopkinton is also a great place to visit and make a weekend out of it. In this episode, you'll hear from race director Tim Richmond. Tim will explain the design aspects of this event that make it beginner friendly. He'll also walk us through the course and tell us why the finish line of this race is one of his favorites, and an emotional one too. We'll also hear from Title IX athlete Allie Lewczyk. Title IX was her first triathlon, and she's gone on to be a regular competitor now around New England. This race also played a key role in her journey back to a healthy lifestyle, and you'll want to hear that inspiring story. Let's get started with the race report. The Title IX Tri is one of 5 Max Performance Triathlon Series races. This race is traditionally held in September on the Sunday after Labor Day. The actual race venue is Hopkinton State Park, which is a wonderful place for an event like this. Title IX is a sprint distance only race consisting of a quarter-mile swim, a 10-mile bike, and a 3.1-mile run, which is a 5K for you runners who know. Early September in Massachusetts has some great racing weather. AccuWeather data shows average high temperatures for early September in Hopkinton are in the mid-70s. Average low temps dip down into the upper 50s. And the water temperature in the lake is usually in the lower 70s. Title IX has been around for nearly 2 decades now. Race director Tim Richmond created the event as a way to invite more women into the sport of triathlon.
It's a super warm, inviting, welcoming environment where sometimes at your traditional triathlon that is co-ed might feel a little bit more intimidating. So we just wanted to try and start the barrier to entry and drop it down and make it feel really like a welcomed environment.
Allie Lewczyk is one of those women who found triathlon through Title IX. She says the race is more than an event. She calls it an empowering experience.
I think the biggest thing that, really comes to mind when I think about Title IX is the word empowerment, and being able to go through a endurance sport event and being able to be surrounded by a lot of high energy and very empowering women. Everybody is so supportive. I've gotten a lot of positive affirmations, women tapping me on the back saying hey, good job, you got this. So overall, just very high energy. And I've talked to other women at my gym about hey, you should, try this race.
More women are trying the race each year. The annual field has doubled in nearly 2 decades.
I believe in year 1, we may have had 350 to 400 women. And from now, our athletes, generally we're over 600 athletes at Title IX. So I think it's I think it really has evolved from like a logistical standpoint, but it's also evolved in the sense that people know about Title IX Triathlon as like a really great race.
For many of the women competing, it's more than just a race, more than a competition. In Allie's case, Title IX became a key turning point on her journey to a healthy lifestyle and a complete life transformation.
I was a big like junk food junkie, sweet girl. And coming out of college, I was 209 pounds. And I was afraid that I was going to become diabetic, and I didn't want that for myself. So around the time of COVID, shortly after COVID in 2020, I started to do water aerobic classes. I started to walk outside more. I started to bike more. And then, the water classes turned into swimming, and then Peloton cycling turned into biking outside, and then the walks turned into runs. And then eventually, my dad said like, hey, like, you could put all three together and do a triathlon. And I'm like, what is that? And I immediately, Google searched and popped up Title IX. And I was like, okay, we got like a beginner race, like the distances are shorter. It's a newer race. And I signed up in March of that year of 2023. And that was my first ever race. So it really was a wellness and a weight loss journey for me. And it really just brought me so much joy and purpose. And now I'm swimming 3 days a week and biking a few days a week and running and signing up for all these events now.
What an inspiring story from Allie. Allie and Tim will both tell you there are many inspiring stories just like that among the Title IX athletes.
We have stories of women that have battled adversity, battled cancer, used Title IX Triathlon as possibly a weight loss journey and a weight loss goal.
I remember standing in the swim line, and there was this one woman who was battling cancer. And she was out there doing the thing, So it's just, you hear so many other stories at this race.
And those stories of the why, the motivation for doing the race, are extra special at Title IX. Now, how athletes get ready to compete in the race is another interesting story. Recall Tim talking about making this race beginner-friendly? Well, to help beginners get a head start preparing for the race, Max Performance has created a special information event to help those newcomers get ready. It's a one-night workshop called Newbie Night that's focused specifically on Title IX and answering all of those questions a first-time triathlete might have. It usually happens in late August, a few weeks before the race.
And we hosted at Grace Bicycles with a whole panel of women triathletes. I'm also there. We have some of our local coaches with Try Hard Endurance Coaching, Coach Will, and then Roy from Grace Bicycles. So that is it's an outline with a presentation about what you should expect on race day. So we go through each segment of the race, from preparation, the week before, or the days before, swim, bike, run, and try to really help visualize what that experience is going to look like, both with imagery, some videos from past events, so that folks can get an understanding of really what's going to happen when it comes down to race start and race morning. So it has a great presentation, but then we also have a Q&A. So like we always say, no question is a bad question. And we, we learned quite a bit about some of our athletes' background and experience. And so it's a wonderful evening.
Newbie Night is free, but it's limited to about 30 athletes, and you must register in advance. You can find all the info on the Max Performance website. Look under the Train and Thrive tab. They have a special Newbie Night page you can find from there. One side benefit of this event is the connections that the athletes make with each other. Athletes meet, become friends, and in some cases, training partners.
You have 25 or 30 athletes that come to the Newbie Night session, and then some friendships are formed. Like, hey, could we stay in touch? Like, this would be great. Oh, you're from this area? I really need to go out and open water swim, or I could use my own buddy or a training partner, just to feel more comfortable in those next pieces, because you're right. Some folks don't have a network or a group. So the beginner night at Grace Bicycles really is, has so many benefits for athletes, and social is certainly one of them as well. Just to feel like there are other folks that are in your camp about like being a beginner.
Moving on to race day, this is where you really see how the event has been designed to support first-time triathletes. The goal is to give them the best race experience possible. You see it in the course design, which we're going to go through, and you see it in the buddy system, something unique to Title IX. The buddies are volunteers who serve as guides to help first-timers know where to go and what to do before and even during the race. There are swim buddies, course buddies, and transition buddies. Your first buddy encounter will be a transition area buddy before the race. Transition buddies are stationed in the transition area where you set up your bike and run gear before the race starts.
Entering into the transition area, that's such an important piece, because in transition, then you walk forward with your bike and he's like, where do I go? What do I do next? So we're so fortunate that we have wonderful volunteers and transition buddies that are there, and they say, hey, what's your number? Let me help you get your bike racked. And they'll be able to answer your questions at the race, because they're all also, most of them are experienced triathletes as well.
Most new triathletes say the swim is what worries them the most, and that's where the swim buddies come in. Swim buddies are experienced swimmers who volunteer to be out in the water on the swim course. They are available to swim beside athletes who might want the comfort of having a friend beside them and the encouragement of having a supportive voice as they go along.
We have experienced swimmers and lifeguards that are out there on the course, and yes, they're for number one is safety, to make sure that your race is a safe one, but it's also extremely powerful in the sense that there's some almost coaching going on out there. Like, listen, you got this, you can do this. If there's some doubt, we've had several really wonderful stories of athletes that have received incredible messages of support from their swim buddies or lifeguards saying like, all right, that's okay. Take a break. Let's roll on your back and let's grab some breaths and then continue on, because ultimately we want to see you successful at the Title IX Triathlon.
The layout and management of the swim course is another aspect of Title IX's beginner-friendly design. The swim course is point to point. That means you're swimming pretty much in a straight line from start to finish. The start of the swim is a time trial start. Athletes form two single-file lines at the water's edge. The starter calls one person from each line up to the timing mat. Then, on the starter's command, those two swimmers enter the water and start swimming. The starter then waits 10 seconds before sending off the next pair.
Which is also really nice because it's not a wave start or a mass start. So as a relative beginner, you don't want to have that whitewash of swimming on top of everyone. And this environment of that time trial swim starts really has been helpful from a safety perspective, as well as from an athlete experience about I just felt like I had more space to kind of spread out. And so what's really been nice is athletes feel that support of wow, I can get through this. It's not as intimidating, in the swim.
I think time trial starts are actually great. I don't feel, like people are kicking me and I'm being shoved around, and, it's actually well organized, and I love that. A straight line shot was ideal for me because I have done multiple races where I have had to turn and do this backstroke thing and, try to figure out my way. But Title IX, it's so straightforward. And even being a beginner swimmer, I finished. I got out of the water. It was great. I think my goggles fogged up a little bit, but I was surrounded by women who were, doing backstrokes, and we were all just trying to support each other.
And here's a swim tip. Wetsuits are allowed at this race. They're optional. You don't have to wear one, but Allie says she always does.
I definitely recommend a wetsuit. It will help with buoyancy, and it will keep you protected and keep you warm. So even if the water's a little cool.
Out of the water, it's a short jog back to the transition area to get your bike, and the transition area buddies are there to help you.
Everything is marked really well. We have high stanchions with signs that say bike out, bike in, and then run out as well. So it's really well marked. But ultimately, when you're in the throes of your race, you're coming in and out, you may get confused because all you're thinking about is, oh, where's my next step? And you don't look up at the sign. So our buddies are in transition, and those volunteers are super supportive.
But transition at Title IX was easy, definitely easy. Everything is clearly marked. And like I said before, all of the signs, everything is labeled. So you know where to bike out, you know where to bike in. And yeah, just the vibe. And like, even when I was changing to get my bike stuff on for the bike part of the race, women would talk to me like in transition, and we'll come out of the water and it's always like, hey, good job, like, hey, good job. So even T1 is still empowering and definitely high energy.
The bike course is 10 miles. Course buddies will be stationed at major turns to make sure that you know where to go. It is 694 feet of elevation gain, so yes, there is a hill or two.
There's a couple of rolling hills that folks should be aware of because Hopkinton is also one of the highest points in MetroWest. So the nickname of the high school is the Hopkinton Hillers. So keep that in mind.
So there are some gnarly hills on Title IX, actually. There's a couple of hills, which kind of threw me off guard a little bit as a newbie cyclist. So, taking your time on those hills and really just making sure you're hydrated.
Volunteers will be at the turns, and then police will be at all of the kind of key intersections. So what's nice about the Title IX course is also, for the most part, it's all right-hand turns. There are very few, if any, left-hand turns, which, if you haven't been in a bike race, like having to navigate that can be challenging.
The bike course is also very scenic and very pretty. So there's a lot of wildlife. You're biking through Hopkinton, a little bit of Ashland too, I believe. I think I'm actually biking through Ashland a little bit too. And it's still very high energy, even on the bike.
Here's a bike tip from Tim to help get up those hills. He says when you set your bike up in the transition area before the race, make sure it is set in a low climbing gear.
So if you take a peek at your bike, you want to make sure that you potentially might have chain rings, small chain ring, big chain ring in the front where you change your gears. Put it in that small chain ring. Why? Well, two reasons. One is that you kind of want to be able to spin your legs out coming off of the swim. You want to be ready for that. There's also just a slight little graded hill coming out of the transition area. So if you have it in that smaller ring, you'll be able to get yourself spinning and up that hill in an easier fashion. So that's certainly a hot tip to remember for the bike course.
There is one important safety note about the bike course. When you get out of the state park, you will be on open road, so you're sharing that road with car traffic. Tim says it's important to remember that you need to stay in single file unless you're making a pass.
When you're in a racing environment, you have to ride single file. Now, of course, you can pass people, but there is no double riding, 2 across, 3 across, because while it is a Sunday morning, you don't want to be impeding any traffic that does still need to come by.
The 3.1-mile run is relatively flat with one hill right when you leave the transition area. The highlight of the run is near the finish, where you'll cross the levee with a view across the lake back to the finish line. This sets up a spectacular finish, and it's here that many athletes get their second wind and that kick for the finish line.
And when you come across the levee and make that final turn, you're almost about 3 miles in, to that 5K finish. And you can hear the DJ, you can hear the music, you can hear people and the spectators ringing the cowbells.
But coming across that and kind of knowing you're at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, it brings you just so much joy. And that is actually a really good time if you're with other people to kind of like run and talk. And I think during my very first Title IX race, I actually was walking and running on that. And a woman came up to me and she's like, you're literally almost done. Like, you need to run the rest of this because you're literally almost done. And I was like, okay. So we ended up finishing together. And that was my very first, Title IX end experience running across that jetty there.
And that's what kind of propels you to the finish. as an athlete and a competitor to just get it done. Like, this is it. This is what I've worked for.
The finish line at Title IX is a special experience because it's a first-time finish for so many, and because it represents a major goal achieved for so many women, just like Allie.
So my parents were standing there and they were cheering me on and recording me. Yeah! Way to go, Allie! Woo! Allie! And I just knew in that moment that I did something very challenging, and I put in all the time. I put in all the effort. I woke up early. I swam. I would train on the Peloton, and it just showed me that, anything is really possible, if you put your mind to it, if you put your training to it, if you really focus.
Tim says Title IX has more spectators than any other max performance race, and because of that, they make sure the post-race celebration has something for athletes and spectators alike.
Yeah, we love to do our award ceremony and have some barbecue offerings at all of our races. But at Title IX, we have a special menu, and that's complimentary. That's part of your race entry with us. So you'll be able to grab some food, and there's also usually an ice cream truck available for the kids. We also do face painting and balloon artists for the kids that are going to be there supporting their athletes as well. And then, like I said, the award ceremony is just a lot of fun. We do some great giveaways, lots of great music, and celebrating your accomplishment with some commemorative awards and, remembering what you've done on this day. And it should be celebrated. That's what it's all about.
It sure is. And if this has you interested in finding out more about the Title IX Tri, check out the Max Performance website. It's maxperformanceonline.com. This is a very well organized and detailed website. Each of the 5 races has its own page, and you'll find Title IX there. On that Title IX page, you can get a lot more information, including detailed course information. You can see maps of the swim, bike, and run courses here. Be sure to click on the race menu and check out the athlete packet. You can download that packet from there. This packet is a wealth of information about everything from packet pickup to parking information and the race day schedule. Especially if you are a beginner or a first-time triathlete, having detailed information like this about what you can expect makes you feel much more confident going into race day. If you would like to make a weekend out of your Title IX race experience, Hopkinton and the MetroWest region have plenty to offer. Hopkinton State Park, the site of the race, has plenty of room to explore the outdoors. The 1,500-acre park has more than 10 miles of hiking trails. It also houses Regatta Point Marina.
Regatta Point is one of our great partners, and they offer some really great activities and recreation, specifically to stand-up paddleboard, kayaking, sailing. They have 2 locations, one at Hopkinton State Park and then another out in the Worcester area, and they do a great job. They have a great team there as well. So you can come, maybe go for a hike inside of the park on some of the trails, go for kayak and things like that.
Of course, we must mention that Hopkinton is the home of the starting line for the Boston Marathon, and what runner wouldn't want to visit that site? That would take you into Hopkinton proper, where there's even more to do.
There's a lot of great local offerings in Hopkinton. I think, you've got a few different hotels along Route 9 that are really 10 to 15, 20 minutes away at the most. So make a weekend out of it. Hopkinton Town Center is a quaint experience, and there are some great shops there now. You've got like award-winning Blue Square Pizza is just, it's ridiculously good, the styles of pizza that they're offering. And then there's some great offerings as you get into Ashland too, with 26.2 brewing. So there's definitely some things to check out. Don't sleep on Hopkinton at all.
And don't sleep on Title IX if you're that woman thinking about giving triathlon a go. It could be that first step on a whole new path for you, just like it was for Allie.
This race sparked my entire triathlon journey. So if this race can allow another woman to get into the sport and to allow someone to train for sprint triathlons or train for Olympic tries or even do half Ironmans or full Ironmans, I strongly recommend it. And you are also just showing yourself that you are choosing yourself and you're choosing your wellness and your health and, picking up a healthy habit like I did.
I hope you'll consider giving Title IX and Hopkinton a try. If you do, let folks know you heard about it on the Race and Explore New England podcast. Remember, Race and Explore New England is your place to discover the races, explore the places, and find your adventure. I'm Chad Nye, and I'll see you next time.